Music Monday. So I got a kind of more like just sort of vague one for this week. I am really stoked to go to a show on Friday. I am going to go to Topanga, out to Topanga, California, and I'm going to go see a singer-songwriter and an activist, and he's also an anarchist, named David Rovics. That last name is Rovics. And if you don't know who he is, check him out. Look into him. David Rovics, Rovics. In fact, I'm going to tweet at him right now so you guys can all learn who he is very easily, because I'm going to tweet right at the dude. So he's coming to Topanga, which is kind of close to me. Not super close. It's kind of a bit of a drive, but it's a very pretty area. It's not an area I get to very often. So I plan to try to do a nice little sunset hike in the area, and then go see the concert. And Graham Elwood's supposed to join me because this venue seems like a really neat venue, and we thought they might be interested in doing a progressive comedy tour show with us. So we're going to go check it out, have a nice little hike first. And yeah, it's going to be cool. So he is a protest singer-songwriter, very much in the vein of Phil Oakes, and he calls out corruption on all sides of the aisle. Basically, if you're a fan of the stuff that Jimmy Dore and myself are doing, and if you're a fan of Lee Camp, and if you're a fan of Tim Black, Humanist Report, basically, if you're a fan of calling out corruption in our system as a whole, and not just being a cheerleader for one side or another of a rigged system, David Rovics is the type of protest singer for you. He calls out the Democrats, he calls out the Republicans, he calls out capitalism. He does so unapologetically, and he's very, very topical. On the campaign trail, he wrote some really cool tunes. There's one where it's called If Hillary's a Progressive, and he was singing about, the campaign trail and singing about Clinton. It's a really, really clever song. One of the lines in it, I'll quote one of the lines. He goes, I'll be damned if I need to choose between two more plutocrats. If Hillary's a progressive, I'm Felix the cat. So he's great, all right? Point being, he's great. I'm going to see him on Friday. I'm really stoked for that. And there's some recommendations from you guys we'll get into. But I think it's important to kind of give a shout out to singers that have that lens going on, because protest music is alive and well, but it's harder to find, and it's a lot of it's more under the radar because we live in the era of the subgenre of the subgenre of the subgenre. And when I was even when I was first getting into music, it was before the internet. The internet was around, but the internet wasn't what it was now, obviously. And there was some early online resources back in the day, but it still largely relied on artists touring. And usually there was kind of a go-to venue where you were like, this is a venue that's bringing in acts that I'm interested in. And a scene sort of developed that way. And that was how you discovered music. And it was relatively easy to stay on top of what was going on. Now, venues don't really have a common theme all that often anymore because there's so much stuff going on and so many subgenres that punk rock means a million different things today. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just where we're at. I think in many ways it's a neat thing. It's good. It's cool. But I think even though I'm not a teenager anymore, and that's probably part of it too. But I think even despite that, it's harder to keep track of what's out there than it was 15 years ago. So that being said, Long Beach has a couple music recommendations with us. Here is a group called Los Lavas, and it's surf rock with a modern vintage twist referred to as lava rock. Their website is thelavas.com, thelavaz.com, thelavas.com, and they're called Los Lavas, surf rock. I like some good surf rock. And Transers, the band, and it's spelled Transers. They are great LA punk rock music, and you can find them at facebook.com/transersband. Transers band. And then that other group was called Los Lavas. You can find them at the Lavas, LAVAZ.com, for some surf rock. So we got some punk rock, we got some surf rock, and we got some protest folk music via David Rovics. And again, and that recommendation's coming from me. Can't recommend that guy enough. If anyone's in the Southern California area, I recommend his show in Topanga on Friday night. I will be there. And yeah, I've been wanting to see David live for a couple years now. I used to play his music a lot on the Lefty Morning Show that I ran in Nashville, Tennessee. We would play David a lot. He's been doing it for a long time. I mean, I think he's been active since like the 90s, maybe even before then. So he's been around. He's great, and I've been waiting to see him for a few years. He tours the West Coast a lot because he's based out of Portland. And I'm stoked to finally get to see him this Friday night. We got one more recommendation from Daniel. Let me go to this link and just see what it is. I can't play music because of copyright issues. Oh, good call. Bad Religion. A classic. Daniel recommends Bad Religion. The album he recommends is All Ages. Some other great Bad Religion albums to check out. Suffer, especially if you're not familiar with Bad Religion. I recommend starting out with Suffer. And then Process of Belief is a really good one too. And I get to see Bad Religion soon. I'm going to the Surf City Blitz in Hermosa Beach, and the day I'm going, rather. The Interrupters are playing, Bad Religion's playing, Rancid's playing, and Social Distortion is playing. So I'm stoked for that. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Shout out to Boots Riley. That's a great shout out, Steven. Thank you for that. And I just saw, has anyone seen I saw the new Sorry to Bother You. I saw that. Has anyone seen that movie? I enjoyed it. Now, full disclaimer, I had really high hopes for it. So I was mildly disappointed. But overall, I still enjoyed it a lot. But I thought it kind of got like... I kind of thought it almost got like a little hokey at times. And I guess maybe I was hoping for a little more, but I liked it overall, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to potentially spoil anything. Overall, I still give it a 2 thumbs up, and I highly recommend it. But I was like this much of me was a little disappointed. That's all. Medieval Times has surf rock spelled SERF. Balthazar says, now I want to go to Medieval Times the restaurant because I'm into cheesy stuff like that. I am a big sucker for the Renaissance Fair. In fact, that's going to be when we want to do a laid-back topic, which will maybe on Thursday we'll do that. We'll talk about the Renaissance Fair. Because, dude, I am a sucker for... I mean, some of you guys... I've been getting some feedback on the video about the ice volcanoes, where I just kind of, like, geeked out about the fact that it was a thing. And it was positive. People were like, oh, it's so nice seeing Ron geek out about science. We should send him more articles like that. And I encourage that in some ways. But in other ways, it'll be an opportunity for me to display my lack of knowledge when it comes to what's going on in the science world. I'm not hard to impress, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm whenever I talk to a scientist, I am impressed and my mind's blown. And then I'm also really freaking worried about the future because... our government ignores the science community. They ignore every warning they give. They ignore all of the research. They ignore everything. That's why if you talk to any scientist, they are hella against everything we're doing. Unless, of course, their analysis are bought and paid for. If they're funded by oil and gas, different story. If they're not, they're going to be like, yeah, we're really doing some shit we shouldn't be doing. Really. Like my cousins... my cousin and his wife, I just refer to both of them as my cousins now, right? They're all family. But my cousin they're both like geniuses, and they're biomedical engineers. And so like every time we talk, like I ask them questions about just everything, and they just educate me on so much stuff. Like what we can potentially do with brackish water is like really freaking cool. And I can't explain it, but they can. Like, they explain, like, how we could eventually be able to foster it and use it for, like, human consumption. Like, we're still a little ways off, but it's not unrealistic to think we can get there. I can't explain how. They can. Willie Nelson gets a shout out. Suffer. Someone says Suffer, still a great album. Oh, yeah. And some of you guys say you didn't see me as a Renaissance type. I'm a huge geek when it comes to the Renaissance Fair. My first job was at the Renaissance Fair. Boom. Now you know. I was a page. I assisted the king. And I wore a goofy costume. And a buddy of mine is actually a Renaissance Fair professional. He tours with the freaking Renaissance Fair. Joseph, it'd be interesting if you got a science person on, like a Neil deGrasse Tyson. Pasta, book Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm sure that'll be easy. On it, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And that guy's good at explaining it for the layman. You know, like he's good at that. So that would be a fun one. Kim points out that Suicidal Tendencies is playing the Surf City. I have so many stories about them. You know, I saw Suicidal Tendencies once. It's not my personal cup of tea, but they got a fuck of a following. I saw them once. I was really young. I was only like 12 when I saw them. I don't know if they're playing the first day or the second day, but yeah, there's a big lineup on both days. You should come out, Kimmy. You should check it out. Should be a really cool concert. I think there's still tickets available. Tim says, nothing like watching grown men in armor beat the crap out of each other. I approve. It is pretty freaking cool. Jousting, right? How young was Ron when he went to his first concert? I was 8. I went to see Traffic with my parents. My first concert, kind of like by myself, like with friends, I went to see Everclear. When I was in 7th grade, so I think I was like 12. I went to see Everclear with Fastball and Marcy Playground. And I think all 3 of those bands are still sort of around. Like they're kind of there. But my first concert ever, I went to see Traffic. And you know what was crazy? I didn't understand. So for anyone not in the know, Traffic is kind of a jam band. Like, that's sort of what they were before the word jam band was around. And it was my first concert. It was like my first rock and roll show ever as a kid. So I just thought, after I saw Traffic, I thought that every rock band, when they played live, all of their songs were like 20 minutes long. Like, I thought, because, like, their songs are really long, Traffic, so I thought every band was like that. Like, I thought every band, they would play their hit songs, but it wasn't like it was on the radio. It was really long. So then when I went to my second concert, I realized that's not the case. But for, like, a year, I was just like, yeah, whenever rock bands play live, the songs are, like, 20 minutes. Like, I really thought that. Like, I thought, like, some pop song, they, like, have all these verses we never knew about. I thought that. My young, impressionable mind. Because of the Traffic show. And then I saw who was the other? Elton John. I saw Elton John, and I was a big Elton John fan. I still am. I love Elton John. But I saw Elton John when I had double pneumonia because I was so excited about the show. But I got double pneumonia, and my parents were like, you're sick, you can't go. And I cried. I wanted to go so bad. And the doctor was like, look, he's been on a prescription medication for like 48 hours, so he's not contagious. If he feels up for it, you can take him. I can understand why you might not want to, but you can. So my parents took me. And I coughed the entire time, but had the time of... I mean, I was like 9, so it's... You're like invincible as a 9-year-old. You don't, like, you just... I would just have to cough, and it was inconvenient, and then I was rocking out. Like, that was it. So, Kim gives a shout-out for Billy Joel. I saw Billy Joel at Bonnaroo a couple years ago, and it was really cool. And yes, Elton John does have an incredible band, Schulte, as you point out. Pyramid saw Willie Nelson around 5 or 6. That's friggin' awesome. I saw Willie Nelson. I saw Willie Nelson at what festival was it? Pilgrimage in Tennessee. Moose Gal, I love Guns N' Roses, Ron. How about you? Not a big Guns N' Roses guy. I mean, I appreciate them for what they were. I respect, well, I mean, Axl, I find kind of irritating as a person, but like, I respect them for what they did musically. Axl's got a fuck of a voice, but not my personal cup of tea. And I'm also a big Nirvana fan. Like, I'm a really, really big Nirvana fan, so, you know, when them and Metallica, the way they were kind of juvenile around Kurt's death, I thought was pretty weak and in very poor form. So no, I'm not the biggest Guns N' Roses fan, not the biggest Metallica fan. Actually, politically, Metallica I have no respect for at all. I mean, if you like their music, I get it. I know a lot of people that like Metallica, but politically, I have no respect for Metallica at all. I don't see how anybody could. You can like their music and acknowledge that they're horrible politically. Distillers, I enjoy the Distillers a lot, although I'm not as familiar as I'd like to be. God, I fucking love Music Monday. I really do. I love the fact that we just, yeah. Oh, and guys, I gotta, holy shit, someone saw Janis Joplin in 1966. Thomas, that's awesome, and I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I could have been there, because I've been 27 since the year 1933. Wow, Janis, man. Dude, Janis Joplin, she was an alien. You know, I mean, I don't mean literally. Someone's gonna... I mean that metaphorically. But some of these artists, it's just like, dude, they were aliens, man. They were from another planet. Elvis, Janis Joplin, I mean, someone's gonna take this and use it as a smear piece. They're like, Rob Placone thinks musicians were aliens. He's hurting the left. I mean it as a metaphor. Jilly gets it, though. She's like, she and Jimmy were not from here. Exactly. Deep Purple's touring? Holy shit, Eric, I didn't even know that. I did not even know that. Oh, God. They're playing in Irvine? This Thursday. I might have to go. Deep Purple's... Judas Priest... Is Deep Purple headlining? I can show up late. Judas Priest is not my cup. I mean, I would watch them and enjoy it, but I'd rather just see Deep Purple. REM, good shout out. I went through. I feel like everybody goes through a heavy REM stage in college. Although I discovered my girlfriend did not. We were in the car, and REM came out, and I was just like, yeah, like everybody else, man. I had a big REM phase in college. She was like, I didn't have an REM phase in college. And I was like, all right, well, you know, that's that. Love and Rockets and the Pixies. I'm more familiar with the Pixies. Love and Rockets, you know, I hear about them a lot. I'm not super familiar. What little I've heard, I have liked a lot, though. Robin Hitchcock and the Egyptians, I'm not familiar with. Sue and the Banshees, I like a lot. John Mellencamp, I'm more of a Springsteen guy, I got to admit. Although I did go to college in John Mellencamp's town. That small town he sings about, I went to college there. Indiana University. Go Hoosiers. Book of R says, you all have a really strange taste, old person taste in music, and I'm older than most people. I think we named a lot of people. We didn't name just old people. But St. Vincent, Nico Case, I'm a fan of all of them. I've never seen St. Vincent. I've seen Nico Case. I've seen the Decemberists twice. The Kills, I've not seen. Courtney Bartnett, I'm not familiar with. Kurt Vile, Sophie Tucker, Car Seat, Headrest. I haven't heard of all those. I'll have to check some of them out. K-Line Reports asks about Canadian bands. I like Spirit of the West. I like Spirit of the West a lot. Built to Spill, I like Jameson, although I did do a video where I said I did not dig them live when I saw them. I saw Built to Spill live twice, and it was an incredibly disappointing show. It could have just been a weird off night. Other people in the chat, when we talked about that, said they saw Built to Spill and they rocked it. But Built to Spill is one of the few bands I have a negative experience of live. Although some bands, you know, it's mixed. I once walked out of an Alkaline Trio show. For anyone not familiar with Alkaline Trio, they're a punk band originally out of Chicago, although I think some of them live in LA now. But they're great. They're one of my favorite bands. In high school, they were hammered, and their show, I was in high school, not them. But I saw them in high school, and they were hammered, and it was so bad I walked out of the show. I've seen them 3 other times since then, and they crushed it. So, you know, I know that bands have off nights, and Daniel, I know, Daniel, you're a big Built to Spill guy. I get it. See, the thing, Built to Spill is 0 for 2 for me. I mean, if I had another chance to see them live, I probably would. But they are, and it was like a heavy 0 for 2. Like, it was like they really did not do it for me live. Alkaline Trio, it was like they're hammered. And I knew that. Like, I was like, they are hammered. And it was when Matt Skiba was going through a really rough time. And with addiction and so forth. So, yeah. The Clash, I love The Clash, Pam, and I can't wait until next month when I'm in the UK. I'm going to do a Clash walking tour, and I am so excited for it. I can't freaking wait. Although, I might just text Rubella Ballet, the punk band that I got to meet the other week, and they might take me on their own band. K-Line Report, you said Canadian bands. I said Spirit of the West. A couple more shout-outs for Springsteen. I appreciate that. Courtney Barnett. Courtney Barnett. I will check her out. I'm not familiar. I will have to check her out. I like New Order, Tim. Yes. Dillinger 4, Jameson. Dillinger 4, I appreciate Dillinger 4 a lot, and I'm glad that Green Day paid them. For anyone not in the know, the American Idiot guitar riff was pretty much identical to a Dillinger 4 song. Was it intentional theft? Probably not. It was probably just a subconscious thing. But Green Day is rich. They're very, very rich. And Billy Joe did the right thing, and he paid Dillinger 4. I don't think he stole it on purpose. I think it was, kind of a subconscious thing. But he did the right thing, and he, it was brought to his attention, to my knowledge, and he heard it, and he's like, yeah, this is really derivative. I'm going to give him some money. So yeah, I was glad to see that. And Mike S., Buzzcocks. Hell yes. I love the Buzzcocks. I got to see, I've never seen the Buzzcocks. I did a year or so ago. I got to see The Damned. And you want a band that tears it the fuck up live. Dude, go see The Damned if you ever get a chance. Go see the frickin' Damned. Eric gives a shout out to Black Label Society. I saw Zakk Wylde with Ozzy, and it was awesome. And I'm so glad my younger cousin went through a 2-week-long goth phase just in time for her to get free tickets to Ozfest and have her cooler older cousin Ron be her chaperone. Yes! Because otherwise I never would have seen Ozzy. But yeah, my younger cousin, she was like, I think about 13 at the time. I was a little older. I was like 17 or 18. So her mom was like, well, you need someone to chaperone you. How about your older cousin Ron? She was like, okay. So I took her. And, man, her goth phase lasted about 2 weeks, and damn am I glad it did. Daily Dope Show wants to know how I feel about dubstep and or rhythm or EDM. Not super fluent in a lot of that stuff, but appreciate it. Don't mind if it's on. I know there's some really innovative stuff going on in EDM right now. I'm not super familiar with all of it, but I definitely think it's a cool thing, and I hope to check out some of it when I'm in Manchester, because I know they got a pretty hot scene for that. So mostly, other than just experience at bars that specialize in playing that kind of music, I don't really know much more. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate the shout out to Kim Deal, Garden Gnome. Yeah. And Mike S says, I love the J Mascis guitar sound, and of course the shout out to end all shout outs, the frickin' Beatles.
Get your news on with Rhonda. Do you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Rhonda. Do you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and